So 2 points here by way of introduction, which if one doesn't understand these points, it's impossible to understand how the Talmud came to be and why it's so important. And also, who are these people who we're talking about in the Talmud, and how do we appreciate their stories, and which stories are important, and which stories have been chosen to be included in the Talmud. So first of all, imagine the Talmud's being written or coming into existence in people's minds, at least between the year 50 before zero and 700 after zero, roughly. Okay? Now, in people's minds before this point, what's happening? In the minds of Judea, Judeans, Samaritans, people who live in Samaria, the Galileans, what's happening is that in the past 200 years, the Maccabees have succeeded in kicking the Greeks out of many parts of Palestine, many parts of Israel, Judea, Galilee, and people are excited. It's the first time in a long time that they have a Jewish kingdom. And so they're excited, but then on the other hand, there was all kind of internal fighting, which made them lose much of what they had. The Romans come in to take over, and basically the Romans now are in charge of the game. They're in charge of the outside game. They're in charge of collecting taxes. Before the Romans, the Babylonians had conquered Judea. Before the Babylonians, the Assyrians had threatened Judea and had conquered the north. And so you're looking at a people who have been conquered and been threatened by all the big powers around them. And so the question becomes, what is your power? What power do you have when you've been threatened so much from the outside? And so the Talmud was a power that was an internal power, an internal dialogue, a relationship with thought, a relationship with God, a relationship with how the sages understood the sacred texts, and how the sages understood how do we apply them to our lives. And so the Talmud has been a sacred internal process for Jewish people, at least. And the second thing by way of introduction is that there are, let's say, 20 to 40 key figures in the Talmud, really important figures, right? Now, each of these figures, we may only know 2 stories, 5 stories, but if you see a rabbi who we know 10 stories or maybe even 15 stories about them, you know they were really important, because their memory, their existence, their inspiration lasted for a long time. One of those people is Rabbi Akiva, and we'll talk about Rabbi Akiva soon. But he was one of those people who we have so many delicious, exciting, rich stories about, and it's because he inspired an entire generation.